Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be showing you how to take my product photos for Instagram and Etsy. I'll walk you through everything that I do, from prepping the plushies to choosing a background to taking the photos and lighting and editing. Good photos are super important because they really help your plushies to stand out and look their best online. But just so you know, this video can help you for more than just selling plushies. I'm a crochet artist, so I'm going to be showing how I take pictures of my plushies. But honestly, this video can be helpful for you if you have a small business or if you just post on Instagram and you want to step up your photo game. So let's go ahead and just get started. So the first thing I always do is I check over the plushie that I'm about to photograph, and I really make sure there isn't any lint or fuzz on them. I do crochet with a lot of chenille yarn, so as you can see, sometimes there'll be like extra little fuzzies hanging off, so I'll always do a double check over them. Another tip for prepping your plushie before photos that I just want to mention is to make sure your plushie looks their best is just to give them a gentle rub and make sure they're not misshapen or anything. The next thing I want to talk about is the background. You really want your plushie to be the main focus of your picture. And I'm about to show you guys my background in just a minute, but I just want to mention that you really don't need anything too fancy to take good photos. So I do have a specific place where I take all of my photos, and I kind of planned my room around that spot because it had the best lighting, and I was like, I'm gonna make sure this spot is really cute so I can take my photos there then. If you don't have a cute little setup in your room or space or house, wherever you are, to take cute photos, I would even recommend maybe using a blank wall. And if you don't have that, then I would suggest maybe getting like a large paper or like poster board, maybe preferably white. That way the colors really stand out against the background. Let me show you exactly where I take my photos. This is my photo corner and I chose this specific spot because it had the best lighting in my office. And so my office is honestly designed kind of around this corner because it just has the best lighting most of the day. It's right next to a window, which I'll show you in a second, but I usually take my photos like right here like this. Now I know I just said not to have like a busy background, and this background definitely has some stuff going on. So when I am taking pictures, I usually use portrait mode. And when you use portrait mode, it really blurs the background. So that causes the plushie to still be the focus of the photo. So even if you do have a busy background, maybe you want to use your yarn wall as your background. I see a lot of crocheters do that too, and I think that is quite cute as well. I just recommend using portrait mode. That way you're still focused on the plushie. So I know we just talked about lighting just a little bit, but I really want to focus on lighting because lighting is the most important thing for good photos. If you are taking photos inside, always make sure that you are near a window because we really want this nice natural light flowing in. You're going to need that for your photos. I just want to touch on that and show you, like, my desk is really close to the window and it really helps. Another thing that you can do is you can take your photos outside. I always think that like having a little bit of nature in the background is always a super cute touch. Some tips for shooting outside is I would never take photos of plushies in direct sunlight. Now listen, there is an exception to every rule. But in general, I would say no direct sunlight, and that's because it is such a harsh light. I way rather prefer like a shaded area, or if it's a cloudy day, that is absolutely wonderful. A nice soft light is really the best light that you can use. Now for actually taking photos of the plushies. When you are taking pictures of your plushies, I recommend getting pictures from all different angles, maybe from the front, 3/4, profile, or back. You know, you really want to show off every angle of the plushie. That way you can sell your product. It really helps the buyer to envision what it looks like 3D. So right now he is right in front of the window, and that is what this lighting looks like. He looks very cute still, but I'll show you why I like the lighting over here a little bit more. So this is where I usually take my photos, and as you can see, the light is coming in and shining on him from the side. So he has kind of like a little bit of shading on the side. I really like this kind of lighting because it gives him a more three-dimensional kind of look. Whereas if we go right back over here, he ends up looking a little more flat. So if you are taking some photos near doors, near a window, I would just recommend like being to the side of the window like this, because it gives your plushie this nice shading and a little more dimension to the photo. So now for actually taking the photos, I'll show you how I set up and snap these pictures. I like to get different angles, and I also usually like to make sure to leave a little bit of space around the plushie so I can crop the photo later if I need to. And always make sure that the camera is focusing on the plushie, especially on the face or maybe even the eye for this one. One thing I want to note before we take any pictures is that I always have my phone in portrait mode for these photos. It really helps focus on the plushie and it blurs the background. Here's this fuzzy guy. Take like a picture from the front, take a picture from the side, and I would just take multiple pictures, maybe move your hand around and make sure you are not like squeezing it. I know it's squishy, but that picture is not going to be as good. I mean, unless you want to show off a little squish. Another quick note that I want to say is even if you were doing a long plushie like this, I would still take a vertical photo, because all the pictures on Instagram, like on your grid, are vertical now, like they're longer up and down than they are side to side. And then the same thing typically goes for Etsy listings, because they are typically square before you like tap on them or anything. I think that vertical usually just ends up working out best. So I did take some quick photos with you guys, but I also want to show you how I edit them and how you can edit them too. My phone is a Google Pixel 8 Pro. I do all of my editing from my phone, or at least most of my editing from my phone. I know not everybody has this phone, but I do use the editing within this phone, so I still want to show it to you guys. And then after I show you how I typically edit my photos, I'm also going to show you how you can edit your photos for free on Canva. So once I have all my photos, it is time to edit. So let me draw your attention right over here. This is my phone right now. Go ahead and look through real quick and see if there's one that we like. I think that this one is quite nice, maybe this one right here. So let's go ahead and edit it real quick. So here are the settings that I typically like to use. I do like to apply a filter. It's called Playa. I usually use the full 100% of that filter. And then I go back to adjust and I will go to my shadows, and I always like to lighten it up a bit so it's a little more bright. Sometimes I'll go as far as like 50s, but I think for this one, I think 35 is about right. And then I do like to add some highlights to the photo. So I'll add a little bit of highlights, and I typically just tap and double check if like that improved it. The highlights are good because they add a little more dimension, whereas when I do the shadows, sometimes it can make the photo look a little bit more flat. After that, what I usually do is I will go to my warmth, and I'll typically take it to about 12, and then for my tint, I will take that to about 12 too. That really warms up the image even more. Then I'll go to skin tone, and this is what really also, it usually warms up my skin tone and just the background in general. And it's kind of different for each image because it depends on the lighting. Sometimes it'll be warmer at some times a day than other times a day. The lighting will just change depending. And then because this is a blue plushie, I usually don't use this unless I'm taking photos of a blue plushie. I will add some blue back into it because when I add all of that warmth to the image, it kind of takes away some of the blue. So I'm gonna go ahead and move up this blue, and as you can see, it can make it pretty blue, but I want it to match what the plushie actually looks like. So I'm kind of looking over at the plushie right now to make sure it still looks like the right thing, because I want these photos to be accurate representations of what the product actually looks like. Another thing that I will do sometimes is I will go over to tools, and we have this tool called the Magic Eraser. Now, this is something that Canva is not going to have, but I do want to show because I know a lot of phones do have this capability of doing like a Magic Eraser. So if there's anything in the image that I'm not super loving, like let's say there's something down here, I will go ahead and I will just go and erase that real quick. And sometimes it creates a discoloration, which is really annoying. Let me see if I can do a better job. Okay, that's a little better. There's still a little bit of a discoloration, but it's not terrible. Okay, so that's how I do that. Another thing I want to show you is that if the background isn't blurred as much as I would like, I will go to the portrait blur option, and this little like circle will tell me where the photo is like focused on, and I can like, let's say I want it focused right on the eyeball, then I will do that. And then I can move this up and down to blur the background more. And I do like the background pretty blurry, and this will control the depth. So right now it's at 31. Now it's at 0, so you can see part of the plushie is blurry too. I don't really like the plushie being too blurry unless it's truly not an option. But so I'll turn it back to 31 because I did like that. That's pretty good. I think that looks nice. And now I'm looking at it, I feel like we could use a little more highlights. See, yeah, I like those highlights, and I kind of go back and forth until I like the general look. And because I do have this calendar in the background, letters can be very distracting in a background, so sometimes I will also use the magic eraser to go ahead and just erase the letters so that it doesn't distract or anything. And this is what the finished photo will look like. So I'm going to save a copy, and then let me show you the before and after. And the main difference between these two photos is really going to be the warmth of the image. I really like a warm photo. It's just more inviting. Here's the difference. So this is before and after, before and after, before, after, before, after. I know not everyone is familiar with Canva, but Canva has some really great tools and I really recommend them. I'm not sponsored or anything by them. Personally, I really like Canva. The first thing we're going to do is you're going to click create right here, and we are going to go ahead and do social media, then we'll do Instagram. And you can just click on doing the Instagram post option. Great that it has that because it can give you the exact dimensions of the photo. So you're going to know exactly what is on screen. So you're going to know what it looks like when you post it. So I'm going to go ahead, and then you're going to go to the side and you're going to click upload files, and then you're going to find your photo on your laptop or computer or phone. You can also use Canva on your phone. It also has an app, so you don't have to do the computer. I'm just showing you through the computer, and then you'll just click on it and you'll open. I already have mine uploaded though, so I'm just going to select it right here. It's this one right here. Now I have my photo. So before cropping, this is the shape of my image. And to crop it, I'm just gonna fill up this white to the intended area. I kind of want this guy to be right in the center. So I'm just gonna zoom in a bit, maybe move it down just a tad. There we go. So I want him to be nice and centered. And I'm looking kind of at these arms to see how far away the distance is. And so let's go ahead and maybe like right there feels quite centered. I think that feels nice. You can also use this little tool right here to, if your picture isn't straight, you can straighten it out. So you can do that. So that's how it is when it's cropped in. Now let me show you the editing. If you click on your photo and you go up to edit, then you can edit your photo. If it's your first time editing in Canva, I recommend just trying things out. Play around with it. It's kind of fun to learn something new and try out new things. Moving along, I'm just gonna show you exactly how I would edit this photo, and that is by clicking on this adjust panel right here. So click on that, and then what I mess with is I mess with all of these little guys. These are what I mess with. So I like warm photos, so I usually turn up this warmth right here. I also like there to be a little bit of pink in there. I think that looks nice. We're just gonna move it up until I like it. Another thing is I like to turn up the shadows, so we'll just turn those up a bit. Oh yeah, I'm liking that. I think that looks quite nice. Maybe like right there is good. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so I can really see him real good. Right there is good. And then let's also move up the highlights a little bit, but as you can see, he's becoming a little oversaturated, so we might not be able to do too much. Let's do just a little tiny bit. really watching this bright corner to make sure it doesn't get too bright. Yeah, I think that's okay. Maybe, okay, I keep messing with the shadows. I think 78 is good though. And I really toggle these until I really like how it looks, but let's do a little bit more temperature. Let's warm it up even more. Okay, it's warmer. So those are the 4 different things I typically kind of toggle. Is I like to make it warmer. I like to add in a little bit more pink after making it warmer. And then I usually turn up the shadows first, and then I add those highlights so that it can bring more dimension back into the photo. So now I showed you how I edit. I just want to give you an extra tip. If you use the same background and lighting for your pictures, it'll really help everything be really cohesive. Thank you for mowing the lawn, but not right now. Why? So that is how I take my product photos. You just need to prep your plushie, use a simple background, find good lighting, snap some pictures, and do a quick edit. I hope this gave you some ideas for your own photos. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe for more crochet shop related content. Let me know in the comments if you have any other photo taking tips. I would absolutely love to hear them. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. Happy crocheting and bye.